All right, it's time to route the angle in the top so that the neck will be at the proper angle. But you see, I have it in the router sled and I have it blocked on all four sides so it cannot move. And I have a 5/16 piece of wood laid up under the heel of the guitar because that is what I determined I needed, was a 5/16 drop. And I have the bridge laid on here for demonstration purposes. I have the high E saddle lined up with the scale length, or the approximate close enough scale length, okay? That will change when I actually put the guitar together. I won't go by this. I'll put the neck in and I'll measure from the nut to this saddle. You want to take your scale measurements from the nut to the high E saddle because that is always going to be the most forward saddle on your bridge. And if you look at this, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I have moved this saddle as far forward as I could get it, except just a little bit of adjustment forward. In case I make a tiny bit of mistake in positioning this bridge, I got a tiny little bit of forward movement. I don't need much. The thing of it is there's something called compensation for the scale length. And what it is each string is a different thickness. So the thicker strings are going to need more compensation over the bridge saddle in order to properly intonate the guitar. And compensation will always be a fallback. You'll always be lengthening the string when you compensate. You'll never be moving it forward. So there's no reason for me to move this high E into the center position of this adjustment range because I don't need all that forward range. I want as much adjustment range for compensation on this saddle as I can, on this bridge with the saddles, as I can possibly get for the life of the guitar, not just for an initial setup. And so I'm going to give me the greatest chance of that by positioning my high E saddle as far forward as I can, but leave just a tiny little bit of room for human error. It's pretty much how that works. Now, you see this line in front. Oh, well, I've got that line in front there because this is where I'm going to start the slope of the body. If you were just starting the slope here, like a lot of people do, they would plane or route the angle, the neck angle from here forward. That's a traditional way of doing it. I like doing it like this because I like what it does to the shape of the body. Because the body gets thinner here and fatter here, and I think that it fits my body better. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Do what you want. This is how I build. I don't care how anybody else builds. Okay. Anyway, so I've got a line here because when I get done with this, I want to be able to route for a pickup cavity, and I want to be able to lay my templates to route with flat. So I want to, but I want to give room, like if I'm using a pickup ring or something like that, I want to give a little bit of room on this end so that it's not slamming up against the bridge, if you understand what I'm saying. So now let's go on to actually routing this out. All right, we're ready to route. What I've done, I use a standard 1/2 inch diameter, 1 inch thick, or 1 inch tall router bit, 1/4 inch collet or shaft from my local Lowe's. I know that a lot of luthiers use like a shorter 1/2 inch shank so that they can, you know, route shallow templates and stuff like that. I just make the template thicker. because it's simple and easy to go down to the store. One of these costs like 13 bucks, 15 bucks, something like that. They work just fine. I've not had a single bit of problem with them in 12 years of working guitars. I have a plunge router. I've put the bit in the router and plunged down at that line that I told you I was going to start the route at, that I had in front of the scale length location, until it just touches the top of the wood there, the top of the guitar there. And because I have the heel of this elevated 5/16, as I move across this body and forward, since this is lifted up, it will route deeper and deeper until by the time I reach this area, I will have gone down 5/16. Always remember safety. Don't have anything hanging off of you, any loose clothing that might get caught up in the router or anything of the sort. Be absolutely as careful as you possibly can to do this correctly and safely. As you cut along, it will, I don't know if you were able to see this because of the angle of the camera, but you will get a little ridge, and you want to just kind of move the router and cut a tiny little bit of that ridge, and that's it. Alright. Now, depending on the weight of your sled, you might want to secure it with clamps to the bench. I know that my sled is heavy enough that it doesn't matter. And now what I'll do is kind of clean that up with a hand plane. You can do this with a with a wooden block. You see here that the thing might not have been quite level, so I got a little bit deeper here. That's not an issue, or it shouldn't be. It's not gonna affect this area. So I'm just gonna make that pretty. Alright, I used a random orbit sander and sanded the body down to a 40 grit. And the reason I did that is I'm using the lowest grit I've got to get rid of defects and everything like that as fast as I can. This is just a preliminary sanding, just to smooth everything out, get all the edges correct, everything like that. So what's wrong with this now? I'm missing my bridge location, right? Nope, that ain't it. That mark was just preliminary. Once I put the neck in, I will actually truly locate the bridge, but I got it as close as I could so that I could work off of it. What's missing is my center line. It's gone. Your center line is the most important part of this body, this blank, and the neck that comes with it. You cannot line your neck up, you cannot line your pickups and your bridge or everything up with each other if you lose your center line. So I'm in trouble, right? Well, not really. This is a two-piece blank, so if you look, I don't know if you can see or not, but you can see right there where the center of the body is, because this is centered on that joint. Same here. Now, that looks like it's way off, but it's not. It's the way that I cut this. Okay, so, and my 16th fret will land right about here. But, so I can mark these and recover my center line. Watch. Now you got to really be careful with this, because if you have like a three-piece or four-piece body or anything like that, you could easily lose this. You have to make sure, absolutely certain, that you keep track of this center line. It cannot be lost. I'm going to put this to the edge. Hopefully you can see. I think you can. Line that up. And I might have to do some adjustment on this end. That is fine. No, that's pretty much perfect. And now I have my center line back. Now, I will not do any more sanding on this until I have until I go to final sanding. Until I have the neck pocket routed correctly and the bridge positioned and the pickup routes and all of that. I will not touch the top of this guitar. This center line will not ever go away again. So that's the way that works. Now if you look at this, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you see how the body just thins, gradually thins from here to here. I like the way that looks. I also think that it's going to feel better when you hold it against your body. There's going to be a feel to that. So that's why I do it. I could do the other, but you know, that's what like Gibson does and stuff like that. And Gibson, you know, they've already made their guitars. This is not a Gibson. This is a Baker.